If you're the kind of person that always has some form of skin problem like acne, rosacea, eczema, and so on, even after trying all kinds of products and treatments, I want to show you something you may not have considered before. So you need to understand that the main problem with products or creams or face masks or any of these things is that they do not focus on solving the root cause of your skin problems in the first place. They only treat the symptom, not the cause, hence why you need to use them over and over again. So in order to actually fix skin problems for good, you need to address what's actually causing these problems. So that's exactly what we're going to cover in this video. I'm going to help you fix your health so that products won't even be necessary anymore. So far we understand that skin problems are symptoms and symptoms have a cause. And we do not solve a problem by addressing the symptom, but by addressing the cause of it. That's common sense. So what is causing skin problems in the first place? What is it that causes you to have acne, eczema, and so on? Well, the answer is your health, specifically your gut health. So you've probably heard that your diet is a very important part of achieving good skin, but you've probably never been taught why that is and how to fix your diet to solve those problems. So that's exactly what I want to focus my attention on. I'm going to show you why your diet and gut is so important to your skin quality and how you can completely fix your diet to solve your skin problems. So within your body, you have your gut, which is a combination of your stomach, intestines, liver, pancreas, and a few other things. Your gut isn't just your stomach like I used to believe, it's the whole process within your body responsible for digesting and processing food. Now, your gut is heavily connected with all parts of your body. For example, there's a well-known term called the gut-brain axis, which is the connection between your brain and your gut through the vagus nerve. Your gut is also connected with your circulatory system, immune system, endocrine system, and so on. Your gut essentially remains at the center of your body, connecting with all kinds of different systems within it. Now, one of the systems it also connects with is your integumentary system, which includes your skin, hair, nails, and so on. So your skin and your gut are interconnected with each other, and that connection happens through something called the gut-skin axis, which is a very complex connection that you don't need to understand and that I really don't want to explain. All you need to know is that your gut is heavily connected with your skin. So what this connection actually means in the real world is that anytime you have an issue with your skin, your gut will be affected, and likewise, anytime you have an issue with your gut, your skin will also be affected. So each time you consume something that will cause inflammation in your gut, you will often have physical signs of that inflammation appear on your skin because there is a connection between both. What affects one will affect the other. What causes inflammation in one will cause inflammation in the other. Okay? So anytime you consume something that your body wasn't meant to consume or that your gut doesn't recognize, your immune system will then get activated, which causes inflammation to occur, and that inflammation will then show up on your skin. So that's essentially why your diet and your gut are so important for your skin quality. Your gut and your skin are interconnected through the gut-skin axis, so whenever you cause inflammation in your gut through your diet, your skin will show physical signs of that inflammation. So in the previous section, we've covered broadly how your skin and gut connect to each other through the gut-skin axis and how that connection causes inflammation in one to cause inflammation in the other. Now that we understand that connection, I want to show you how you can properly heal your gut to heal your skin problems. Now, I'm not going to go into deep detoxing protocols because I don't understand them myself, but what I can do is give you a broad overview of how to do it by fixing your day-to-day diet. So whenever you want to fix your gut, there's two angles you can approach it from. You will either remove things that damage it or consume things that heal it. Most of the time they're done at the same time, but we can still separate them. Now, between both of those, your primary focus should be to remove things that damage your gut. Adding things that heal it is of course still important, but your primary focus should be on removing the handbrakes you're placing on yourself. So think about it like this. Trying to improve your gut health by adding in probiotic and prebiotic foods, for example, is kind of useless when the rest of your diet isn't healthy. It's kind of like trying to improve your running speed by improving your technique when you have ankle weights on. If you want to run faster, you start by removing the ankle weights, then you focus on improving your technique. And the same logic applies to your gut health. You start by removing what's damaging your gut, then you focus on adding in things that will heal it. And ideally, you want to do both at the same time, of course. You just need to understand that you will get most of the results from removing things that damage it. So what exactly should you remove to allow your gut to heal itself? There's a few things. First, you need to remove all forms of ultra-processed foods. Anything that has more than a couple ingredients in it has to go. Usually they'll be full of preservatives, artificial colors, emulsifiers, additives, and chemicals that your gut bacteria cannot process. This will then disrupt your gut microbiome and cause your gut to get inflamed. Second, you need to remove all forms of seed oils. Anything like canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, and so on are all inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids that your body cannot properly metabolize. This will then cause them to create oxidative stress and inflammation within your body as a whole, so seed oils are something you want to avoid as much as you can. And usually these will be found in things like restaurant food, any form of processed foods, any form of food dressing, and so on. Then third, you need to remove all forms of gluten. Anything like bread, pasta, cereals, and so on are all things that can still cause an inflammatory response within your gut, even if you don't have something like celiac disease. Especially modern forms of wheat will usually cause a stronger reaction than more ancient forms. Then fourth, you need to remove all forms of dairy. Now, this is highly individual and it depends from person to person, but many people do have inflammatory responses to it without realizing it. So, on one hand, the proteins contained in dairy can trigger immune responses in your body, and on the other hand, the hormones naturally present in milk can affect your skin negatively. So, this might apply to you, it might not, kind of depends from person to person. Then, fifth, you need to remove all forms of sugar aside from fruits. Anything that contains sugars, especially refined sugars from snacks, drinks, sweets, or just processed foods in general, will essentially feed pathogenic bacteria within your gut, so bad bacteria, while starving beneficial bacteria. This will then help create a gut environment where negative bacteria proliferate, and that can lead to inflammatory reactions. So, sixth, you need to remove all forms of alcohol. So, I don't have to tell you that alcohol is bad for you, that's something you already know, but in the context of your gut, alcohol will directly damage your gut lining and liver. So your liver is responsible for processing toxins and hormones, and whenever it gets overloaded because it needs to process ethanol, it can't effectively process other toxins, which then get eliminated through your skin. This then leads to breakouts, redness, and other skin problems you want to remove. Then seventh, you need to remove all forms of energy drinks. Whenever you combine caffeine, sugar, additives, and other forms of artificial ingredients, you introduce so many different elements that your gut cannot digest, which therefore cause inflammation within it. Now this, I would assume, will be again very difficult for people to do because they're so dependent on it, but if you can do it, absolutely try it. What I would also advise you do is replace any form of energy drink with coffee. That way you still have caffeine without any of the artificial additives. And then finally 8, you need to remove all forms of foods your body is personally intolerant to. So for this, you will either need to run a food intolerance test, which will cost you money, or test out foods yourself to see which ones your body reacts negatively to and which ones your body processes perfectly fine. Now, if you remove all of the things we covered before, this shouldn't be too much of a problem. So don't worry too much about it. So these are all the things you'll need to remove if you're trying to optimize your gut health and therefore optimize your skin quality. Avoid all processed foods, cereals, gluten, dairy for some of you, sugars, alcohol, energy drinks, and foods you're personally intolerant to. Now, if you're wondering what that leaves you with, it's pretty simple. What you have left are what we call single ingredient foods, so foods that only contain one ingredient. Think about steak, eggs, vegetables, rice, fruits, any of these things. All of these things, although will probably have added chemicals, additives, and so on during the processing, don't have multiple ingredients or additives in the product itself. You can add additives to steak, but the steak itself is just steak. If you have a cookie, that cookie is made of flour, eggs, sugar, and a bunch of different ingredients. Steak is just steak. Like eggs are just eggs. They only have one ingredient, and those are the kind of foods you have to build your meals around. So that's essentially how you avoid damaging your gut. Now, beyond removing things that damage your gut microbiome, we also need to add things that heal it. And by doing this, we can add and feed beneficial bacteria within our gut. Okay? So again, focus your attention on the following things. First, you need to make sure you consume enough water. Water is obviously very important for your body as a whole, but in the context of your gut, water is necessary for helping beneficial bacteria thrive, digesting and absorbing nutrients, and removing toxins from it. Then, in the context of your skin, water is important for maintaining skin barrier, removing toxins, and reducing skin irritation. So, how much water you should consume every single day will really depend on the individual and will depend on different factors like your climate, activity level, metabolism, and so on. But a rule of thumb they can follow is that 2 to 4 liters a day will be enough for most people. Okay. Second, you need to make sure you consume enough protein and enough quality protein. Your gut lining is one of the fastest replicating tissues in the human body, replacing itself every 3 to 5 days, and protein gives the amino acids needed to build and repair these cells, which ensures your gut barrier stays intact. Then, protein is also needed for the production of digestive enzymes, which break down food efficiently so your gut doesn't become overburdened. So when it comes to protein, you of course want to make sure you have enough of it, but you also need to make sure you have high quality forms of protein. What matters in a protein isn't the protein itself, but the amino acids that protein contains. If a protein contains a low amount of amino acids, or it contains the wrong kinds of amino acids, that protein will be considered low quality. But if a protein contains all amino acids in necessary amounts, that protein will be considered high quality. Now, the quality of a protein source is something you can verify with a graph called the DYAAS or PDCAAS score. And you can look it up if you want, but generally good sources will be things like fish, eggs, steak, poultry, and so on. Then when it comes to quantity, the rule of thumb you can follow is to have at least 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So that's for protein. Then thirdly, you want to make sure you consume enough fats. A lot of people don't get this, but fats, especially cholesterol, is one of the foundational nutrients of your body as a whole. They're responsible for the quality and looks of your skin, lips, hair, nails, eyes, teeth, and so on. And they're also responsible for assisting in pretty much every single process of your body, including your gut health. Cholesterol, for example, is used to make an enzyme that makes digesting food possible. Without cholesterol, we wouldn't be able to digest anything we consume. So you want to make sure you consume enough fats in general, especially essential fatty acids, which your body cannot produce on its own to optimize your gut health. And if you consume enough steak, eggs, fatty fish, and avocado on a weekly basis, you will have enough fats. Now, fourth, you want to make sure you consume enough vitamins and minerals. So these nutrients are essentially cofactors or partly responsible for thousands of biochemical processes that affect your gut and skin health. All types of vitamins will be responsible for supporting your gut lining, reducing gut inflammation, reducing oxidative damage, and so on. Then in terms of skin health, zinc is crucial for wound healing and immune function, vitamin A will support skin cell turnover, vitamin C is essential for collagen production, vitamin D regulates immune function, and so on. All of these nutrients are not only responsible for the quality of your skin and the health of your gut, but your entire attractiveness as a whole. And the way you consume more of them is to have more nutrient-dense foods, which are often just single ingredient foods. Then fifth, you want to make sure you consume more probiotic foods. So what these foods do is they introduce beneficial bacteria into your gut that support your gut health and by extension support your skin health. These will include things like fermented vegetables like sauerkraut and kimchi, kefir, kombucha, and high-quality yogurt, if you tolerate dairy, of course, and these will provide your gut with live beneficial bacteria. And then finally, sixth, you want to make sure you consume more prebiotic foods. So compared to probiotic foods, what these will do is not introduce new beneficial bacteria, but they will feed existing bacteria that are already in your gut. So they won't add in any new bacteria, they'll simply feed the ones that are already there. So these will include things like garlic, onions, asparagus, artichokes, green bananas, and cooked and cooled potatoes and rice. So if you want to have a broad overview of everything you should avoid and everything you should consume more of, here's a list. Avoid all processed foods, seed oils, gluten, dairy for some of you, sugars, alcohol, energy drinks, and foods you're personally intolerant to, and consume more water, protein, fats, vitamins and minerals, probiotic foods, and prebiotic foods. So remember, you can achieve all of this by consuming single ingredient foods like fruits, vegetables, steak, eggs, fish, and so on, and preferably buying these foods from good, clean sources that don't use pesticides, chemicals, additives, and so on. So that's pretty much what you need to eat and what you need to avoid in order to optimize your gut health. Now, so far we've covered why your diet was the primary cause of your skin problems, what to stop consuming to avoid damaging your gut, and what to consume more of to heal your gut. A final factor that we now need to cover is the importance of nutrient timing, so when you consume your meals. So the timing with which you consume your food is actually very important when it comes to your gut health specifically. It isn't as important for muscle growth or just getting nutrients in, but when it comes to the health of your gut, when you eat matters, and there's a few reasons for it. Firstly, you need to understand that each and every cell of your body has its own circadian rhythm. So you've probably heard of your circadian rhythm when it comes to your sleep, but one thing you might not be aware of is that every single cell within your body has its own circadian rhythm and they're all governed by your biological clock that regulates them all. So the way this relates to your gut health is that your gut has its own circadian rhythm, and your digestive enzymes, stomach acid, and even microbiome activity fluctuate on a consistent basis throughout the day. So whenever you eat at the same time every single day, you allow that rhythm to stay very stable, which can improve how well you digest and absorb nutrients. So that's the first reason. Secondly, you need to understand that your gut, just like your entire body, needs time to rest and repair itself. Generally, your gut needs about 12 to 14 hours of fasting to properly heal itself, which means that if you're eating every 2 hours, eating late at night, eating early in the morning, and maybe even snacking throughout the night, you would never allow your gut to actually heal and repair itself. If you're always eating something, even if it's just like snacking around, you never allow your gut any time to rest. So ideally, you want to keep at least 12 to 14 hours of time between the time you finish eating dinner and the time you eat breakfast. And this fasting period can of course happen throughout the night. So if you have your last meal around 7 p.m. and you have your breakfast around 9 a.m., that is enough space for your gut to heal itself. Now, if you have your last bite of food at 10 p.m. at night and your breakfast at 6 a.m., you're only giving your gut 8 hours to rest, which isn't enough. So when it comes to your gut health, fasting a few hours in the morning will be very beneficial. Then thirdly, you also need enough space in between each meal. So you have something called the migrating motor complex, or MMC, which is responsible for removing residue and bacteria from your gut between meals. The problem with it is that it only activates once your gut is fully fasted, so generally 3 to 4 hours after a meal. This means that not only should you be fasting for 12 to 14 hours every single day, you should ideally also leave enough space in between the meals you're having. So, to give you a broad overview and maybe a practical example, the way I would do it is the following. I would have 2 meals throughout the day, the first around noon and the second around 7 p.m., and there would be no snacking in between those meals. That way, I would allow my gut to heal itself for 17 hours, I would leave a space of 6 to 7 hours in between both meals, and I would keep my eating times consistent every single day. So basically, when it comes to timing, understand that timing matters, letting your gut heal by not eating matters, and letting time in between meals also matters. So that is pretty much all I have for this video. Your skin quality is simply a reflection of your gut health, so when your gut is inflamed, that inflammation will physically show on your skin. Then, in order to heal your gut, you'll need to remove foods that damage it, add in things that heal it, and time your food intake properly. Here's again a broad overview of what to do. Please don't just consume content, act on the things we covered, go and change your diet right now, do your homework basically, and actually start getting results. So, thank you for watching the video, hope you enjoyed it, act on the things we covered, peace.